we become more semantics. What I often like to draw here is, and there is a parallel with the theory of semantics of Jürgen Habermas, which he argued that meaning is not just created from isolated words in a communicative content. That's their space, which is the language, actually, and the intention and the interpretation of the situation. When they coexist, they make the meaning. That's actually how right now all the NLP agents and the AI models work, and the contextual targeting works.
Welcome to another IB Lab. Today it's in English because we have an international guest, but the topics stay the same. Some interesting stuff and some interesting insights about what is going on in the digital media, let's say, landscape. Today I have a really interesting guest, Paulina Tsathiri from Athens, from all of the places, International Commerce Director at OCM, so Orange Click Media. It's with us, and we try to talk about what is the, let's say, the future of advertising in terms of contextual advertising, because as we all know, these cookies, although they are sticking, I mean, the people said that they will be out in 2 or 3 years, but we are stuck with them quite a while even now. But
very long time, Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah. And anyways, they will go out eventually, and then we will be here stuck with different forms of advertising, and one of them, I think, it's the contextual part of advertising. Anyways, Paulina, just a quick question. We had so much snow yesterday here in Slovenia. I trust that in Athens it's not snowing right now.
No, it's not the case. We have sun, but first of all, hello. Thank you, Jordan, for having me today and giving me a snow just a peek view, a small view from the snow environment and how it is there in Ljubljana. Here in Athens, we have sun right now, but we started the morning with a little bit of water, with just a light shower. But everything is well. We still have sun. Yesterday, we had one of the peculiar kind of, things that we do. We are Orthodox, and we throw the cross into the sea. So yesterday, lots of people are diving into the sea to get the cross. It's one of the traditions that we have. And it was a nice weather.
And the sea temperature was about?
Was okay, let's say.
Was okay.
Thank God for the climate change. It wasn't very
in that respect. In that respect, yeah. There's not always comes true, but yeah. In that respect, I see that this is something that goes well with Athens. Paulina, I had some questions. I mean, you were on a media stage here on Sample when we organized it, and I see your solution, which is very much context-oriented. By the way, thank you for the Luka Doncic context interpretation. And by the way, we won yesterday, this night. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Anyways, and I was thinking, I mean, I am one of the guys that thinks that contextual will be big in terms of, like I said, when cookies go away. But on the other hand, I was thinking that, there was always a context in advertising. I mean, coming from the, markets in 18,000 or something like that, where probably, you had people buying or selling something within some context, right? And it was the same in I don't know, when you had TV, films that were probably related to some sort of context, and soap operas, for example, right?
Yeah, it was easy. Exactly. Soap operas, you said it very... soap
Exactly.
operas took their name from selling soap.
Exactly. So,
on the breaks.
and then we went to digital, and we thought that context is not important. But like I said, for me, even what Google and Facebook were doing was context. I mean, for example, it was more a transactional mode, right? So it was more situational in terms of that they know that I'm ready to buy, right? But this is also context, right? So, for example, people were using Facebook in this lower funnel area where people were ready to buy something, and it might not be the brand, it might be just an offering that is a little bit more, let's say, low priced. How do you look at this future in terms of contextual advertising?
As we discussed, yes, the retargeting pools are getting smaller and smaller. And of course, hitting a consumer in the end of the purchase funnel will only, as correctly you mentioned, will only lead you into a price comparison situation where, well, we used to do that like 5 years ago, and we were very heavy on retargeting, and quite a lot of companies were based on that, like retail, and they were doing a retargeting, and they had a huge pool of data based on cookies. But now it was a very good idea to every challenge rises, and there is an opportunity behind of every challenge. So that led us the the abandonment of cookies and the drop of cookies, which is, as you mentioned, it's like a sequel movie that we keep on saying that they are going to stop, but they never stop.
It's a drama. It's a drama, all right.
It's a drama. Exactly. And cookies, the cookie era was actually based on more behavioral signals, on past actions. If you clicked in this section of the site, it wasn't about exactly, that was the signals that they gave the identity of the cookie. But now we become more semantics. What I often like to draw here is, and there is a parallel with the theory of semantics of Jürgen Habermas that reminds me of my years back in the university, and the linguistics and the theory of Jürgen Habermas, where what he argued that meaning is not just created from isolated words, isolated cookies, let's say, but in a communicative content. And that shared space, which is the language, actually, and the intention and the interpretation of the situation, when they coexist, they make the meaning. And that's actually how right now all the NLP agents and the AI models work, and the contextual targeting works. It doesn't isolate, it coexists. So from keyword matching to understanding the semantics environment and understanding in what mindset that creates and what kind of intent it enables at that moment, and doing in real time, this is how we have a contextual tool. And this is, in that sense, content is no longer just a carrier of ads, but it becomes a communicative space in which advertising can either make sense or it can fail. And this is what we were discussing. We have created our own contextual targeting tool, the Ad Squirrel in OCM, which does exactly that based on the NLP models. It analyzes the intent, not just the word, but all the components that take part into creating a coherent semantic meaning out of what someone reads and what that means for them.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I think that what we are trying to say here also is, if I look at ChatGPT and of course the whole LLMs, and things like that, I think that we're moving from, and you put it really good, we're moving from keyword-based advertising. So as I usually say, database-based advertising, because there was always, this huge amount of keywords in a database, and then based on that, you would be sent this way or that way or to that ad or something like that. we're moving to not just contextual, because contextual can be, or contextual could be done even before, but without meaning, right? So now we have meaning. Now we can understand that, okay, understand it's a little bit too much of a word maybe, but to differentiate from different contexts. For example, if I'm trying to see or, trying to read something about a last event, I could be reading something positive about the event or negative about the event, or something that leads me to questioning myself or not, and so on and so forth. So it's not just about reading about the event, it's trying to understand what is behind that, right? What is the meaning of that content? And then based on that, serve advertising or anything that is related to that content based on what that piece of content is trying to say, right? This is the biggest, let's say, difference between what we could do before the LLMs and now. Would you agree?
Well, of course. And this is actually, well, this is what we were discussing, and before we opened the mic, and imagine that if we're trying to interpret the world around us from just one action, take that action out of the whole content, that let's say a word, and that taking that word out of the whole content, it can have different various meanings. So much like that, when you have when you're doing digital marketing, referring to just one last action, being on a website and maybe checking a pair of cycling gear, or and then reading and then going online and reading maybe a political article, that just moment, that moment that you did, and that article, that basically that piece of content that you were consuming and you were reading about, and the action that maybe you didn't do on that e-shop with bicycles, that will probably, if we put it out of content and we use that as a referral, it would be the only action that would describe you as a consumer, but it's not that. You mentioned before you have a washing machine that actually right now it's not working. Yeah. So you don't only want to buy stuff for your bicycle, probably, and gear for your bicycle. You do want to buy also stuff for, you probably need a plumber right now. But the thing is that we are not just one thing and one action that we did. And it's not one piece of article that we might have read afterwards. It's combining all these triggers and all this information, and using, exactly as you said, the NLP model to predict what our user might want to do. And this is actually one thing that probably some of the publishers right now are lacking, because they don't have the full picture. So they cannot interpret contextually, right, the signals and the users that they have them. And if you combine that also to not interpreting, of course, first-party data correctly, and combining this with the fact that most of the users don't give consent also to cookies. So we have a lot of misinformation when we go into a publisher. And this is why a publisher would need to have a solution or an e-shop that operates as publishers, because we have that now, of course. We need to have a contextual targeting tool that would be accurate and would be able to interpret the user that comes into their e-shop or comes into their website, in order to be served with the right content and the right ads. Because we are not just one thing, we are many things at the same time. Of course, when you are in a content that, and you're reading something very specific, like articles for bicycling, you will expect to have more bicycling gear or this sort of type of ads targeting you. But at the same time, maybe a car that has special features for people who ride bikes, or maybe an ad about a nice excursion for bicycles could be also relevant to you. So this is what a contextual tool can help the publishers or ESOPs and the retailers who are actually the new media outlets out there. You were right, a lot of information, but the point is, how do you interpret those information, how you employ the NLP models that right now our technology and AI has helped us to have. And of course, going to the incident with your washing machine, if I served you with an ad for a washing machine, that probably would be dangerous. And probably we have some privacy laws in the European Union, and it's good that we have them, because otherwise it would be a little bit too creepy, I think. But in the content that we right now we're trying to build, to go back into the motion of love brand, and because right now we're not going only at the end. If you agree with me on that, and I think we had a discussion with that, and you agree with me with that, in order to be able, and I will borrow your quotes from the sample conference, where you mentioned that. We are not all about only the performance and the last stage of the purchase funnel, but we have to do something in the consideration stage. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
contextual can
that
help us.
this is one of the. I also think that this is something that it's different than it was before. There's a great chart from Ben Evans on that respect, where he shows that users were searching for cheap at the start of the internet, and then went from cheap to best, right? So now we are searching more for best, and it's logical because first of all, there are more of us. There's 90 to 95% of everybody is online, right? So then this is the first thing. The second thing is that we're now looking for, things that are not just cheap, but that are good. And of course, this is the consideration phase of the funnel. So I think that the whole funnel has moved up. And when it does move up, then you have to have additional ways to, catch these people. Because again, there will be people that are looking for cheap stuff. Then on top of that, you have people that would like to have good stuff, and it might be a little bit pricier, and so on and so forth. And here you have to start within the first stages of the funnel, right? So I think that here there's a big potential from this, let's call it local media, or big media outlets, and so on and so forth, where they can catch people in the earlier stages of the funnel and then try to serve them whatever that is. So like, again, it's more of an informational stage, but we just cannot have just this transactional stage at the end of the funnel, because it will not work for everybody. I mean, it will work just for, of course, some of the people, but not for all of the people. And local media having this huge content, I mean, like I said, I find it really, let's say, frustrating from time and time again when I go and I'm looking at some type of content on the local media page, and I do not have advertising that is related to that. And for me, it's just another impression not used, let's say, in the right respect. So what are you seeing in terms of the media that you are working with? What are these hurdles in terms of making contextual advertising really work at the end of the day?
A vast pool of information for our AI models to be to get to the bottom of it, and to actually create personas and interpret based on the NLP models. How are people actually acting, and what is their consumer patterns based on their personas? it's a little bit magic, but it's a bit scary at the same time. It can be effective, but at the same time, of course, we are afraid of it. But with right regulations, of course, everything can be in place. There is that big fear that, and lots of people have that, but there was that big fear when we first had electricity, or we first saw the first car. Okay, but regulations and the framework, the legal framework that protects our privacy, it's essential, and it can actually help us to lead into progress and to even more and better advertising. And publishers and retailers need, what they are lacking now is the way and the tools to actually sort and be able to interpret the information and the first party data that they have. And well, that makes sense, because only having their own tool, even if they have subscriptions and they get more information about the users, the profile of the users that they have, still they need a tool that it is that can help them effectively get more signals from different sources and models that can actually interpret it in the right way, the content that they have. And this can help the publishers not only and the advertisers to get relevant ads, which of course, it's something very crucial, and it gives value back to the publisher, because imagine going into a website and seeing only irrelevant ads to your profile. You would probably... it is 50% of the page, after all, in some cases, in a publishing website. So it would be relevant to you, would relate with you, and after all, it is content, and you probably want to leave. On that respect, they have to have relevant and, of course, brand safe ads coming in, because we didn't touch that base. And the brand safety is very important when it comes to quality. They also will help them to have a tool that can actually help them create content that will relate to their readers. Because there are tools, AdSquirrel does that. It can give to the publishers and the retailers an idea about their about what is the momentum, what people want to read, what people want to consume as content, and it can give them a focus on even then their editorial teams, a focus to go and hunt that piece of content that people are actually interested in.
You were talking about the challenges about privacy, and here I really think that, yes, of course, there's always that question, and me, being in Europe, I like Europe not being overly aggressive into, the privacy part of it. But what I'm trying to say is also that, contextual advertising, it can always be less, let's say, anti-privacy focused, because you are trying to see the context of a user. And even if you don't have any other data about him, you can post relevant ads on that particular content, right? So like you said before, if you have the context of that particular article, and if you have the meaning of that particular article, then you can, if you have enough of a pool of ads, of course, you can serve the right ad, even if you don't have any other data about the user. So I think that part of the contextual advertising is also related to that, right? So we know that we will have some challenges around privacy. We don't know how much we will have them, right? So it's part of the future. But there will always be an answer surrounding that context, right? So if you know what that context is, you can serve a proper ad, and that's it. And then from there on, of course, if you have more data, even better, right?
Your fun factor. A couple of years ago, I was Groupon, and we were back in 2000 and 11. We were, based on the newsletters and the information that we had about what people and the offers that they were buying, like as a Francisco, we were trying to create an algorithm so we can predict actually what their trend would be. And the newsletters would serve them offers that are only relevant to what they're buying. But the problem was that it wasn't linear what they were buying, and it wasn't just one identity. So you had some people who were buying only things for men and saving stuff or gears for their bikes or gears for the cars. But at the same time, they were buying manicures, mani-pedis. It was because they were as a profile, as a user and a profile. Back then, it wasn't that much, let's say, trained the AI technology, and we couldn't actually ping that. So you couldn't exactly serve them and predict what they need, because in their profile was also their wives or the girlfriends that they might buy something.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it was a
So a
mixture.
lot of the times, this is what I'm trying to say. A lot of the times, having too much data might even hurt, right?
Yes.
But if you know what I'm trying to read right now, this is something that is interesting to me, even though, for example, I'm not at my computer, if you know what I mean. So, for example, if somebody would sit on my computer and trying to read something about something, yeah,
well, I'm not FBI.
and the ad will be served to them, not to me, right? So again, I think that what in terms of the future of Contextual, what will be on that page is related to the ad, and it might not be the user that is at that computer, but that is sitting right now and reading that particular content. So yes, I totally understand. Sometimes more data is just hurting us. Okay, Paulina, thank you very much for this chat. We will totally touch on this again in half a year or a year time probably, and we'll see what news might come from this wild arena that we are working in.
Zoran, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure always talking to you. And I have to say, we start from one point and we end up to another point.
Of course,
so
like always,
I think there are multiples, and
this is classical for our podcast. We end up where we did not envision, but that is a part of the magic, I think.
Yes, and something that at least keeps us humans yet.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely new year with lots of successes and lots of nice and very interesting podcasts. I'm sure that you're going to make it happen.